Hey, great people, it's your girl, Chidi Akunna.
And your G, Victor Akunna.
Hey, if you're new to our channel, this is Foundation for Family Affairs. And at Foundation for Family Affairs, our mission is to connect hearts and raise healthy families. And if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you know when we drop our content. And to every returning subscriber, I'd like to say thank you. And thank you for your questions. Yes. Keep them coming. We'll be addressing one of the questions today. Yes. Someone asked us, how do you reignite intimacy in a long-term marriage?
Long-term.
It's not just reigniting it, but long-term. But as I thought about it, I was thinking, what could have gone wrong? What could have faded intimacy, permit the word. And one thing I thought about was sometimes maybe busy schedule. They become so busy as a couple. Maybe the presence of children as well. So it's like difficult to catch up one-to-one. You want to say something?
Sometimes it's that people stop being friends.
Yes.
People now have, for example, my wife is my best friend. If I decide to have another best friend, maybe another guy or another lady that I'm devoting more time to, all right, that may shift the energy we have, this chemistry that we built, that may shift it. I'm not saying it's wrong to have a best friend. I'm talking about, this is our personal opinion. So,
you're talking about the intensity, the quality of the relationship.
Yes. And sometimes when people leave something, when marriage is no longer prioritized, because I realize that marriage is designed to be number one. Anytime you don't prioritize it, it begins to disintegrate. It loses that spice. So you have to be intentional about spending time together. Some of what we're going to be talking about. You have to be intentional about making sure that you nurture the marriage. Don't just leave it to itself. That after all, we are married. We have no choice. We are going to be in this.
We're used to each other.
We're used to each other. I mean, more like the mindset of I'm stuck with this man. I'm stuck with this woman. We're just going to carry on just like that, just like our parents did. No, you can't do that this time around. So you have to inject life into it. We used to say, I think there's a quote we wrote some time ago. We said, relationship and marriages, they're like living organisms. How you nurture them determines how they grow. All right, how you nurture them. So you have to really nurture them. It's like having a plant. You just leave it there. You're not exposing it to sunlight for photosynthesis. Watering it. Giving it what it needs, like plant food.
Right.
It's going to probably die. So that's just what it is like for relationships.
And we'll be sharing some points that work for us. And I think the first point I want to share is having open and honest communication. Open. Right? You have to keep it open. And when we say that, sometimes you could communicate something, but when we say honest, it's another level. You feel comfortable to share what you have to say. Some people will tell you, oh, we've lost the spark, but I can't say it to my spouse. Okay, can your spouse come to you and say, I feel like the spark in our relationship is gone? That's open and honest. But the question then would be, how would you take what is being said to you? I mean, this one is not so serious, but there's some heavy things that a spouse may want to say to the other.
Yes.
Right. And we have created that environment where we can have open and honest communication. There's sometimes you come to me and you say, I just want you to listen to what I'm going to say. When you start like that, I'm like, okay, what do you want to say is really serious.
Yes, I don't want to be interrupted. Or, my wife's brain sometimes just goes into solution mode. Or this or that, or trying to bring up. I said, no, I just want you to listen first. And it helps me because
hear the person out.
I realize that listening can be therapeutic. When someone really feels that somebody gets them. Oh my word. Sometimes you may not solve the problem. Sometimes they feel like she gets me. She gets me. But the question I want to ask you is this. So what about those people who have been trying to speak to their spouse, but the environment seems to be toxic? What would you suggest? So they're trying to, the environment is not right. What are you suggesting? What will you suggest to such a couple?
I think you need to study your spouse. And we're talking about long-term marriage.
Yes, long-term marriage.
So by now you know your spouse.
Yes.
So you know what works for this person.
Correct.
But the truth too is that some would say, I have done everything I know how to do.
Yes.
I know to do, but it's not the way I want it.
Sometimes before you can talk about having communication, you need to be able to create that atmosphere where people will feel like their voice matter. All right. So if my spouse is bringing something to me, to share something to me, and I'm dismissing what they are saying, I'm not creating an atmosphere. You may not know that you're not creating an atmosphere until you have something to say. So it's very important for couples to intentionally create an atmosphere where there's...
What if it's one person creating it and the other is not interested?
If one person is creating and the other, then I may recommend that you still go ahead and talk. Now, the thing is that the person may not listen to you.
Yes.
You may go and say, this is what I'm trying to say, something, you're not listening. If I make one more effort and not listening, I may be forced to bring a third party into the relationship. Because sometimes some people don't want to talk because they are feeling like talking is going to create bigger problems. Sometimes some people I've seen, they just shut down, they internalize, so they don't create, they don't enable situation where people can talk because they feel like it's going to make them more vulnerable, and vulnerability means the person is exposed. So what we are saying is that one of the things that helps us in a long term relationship like ours is that we are intentional about communication. Why we are going this direction is that there's no how you can spend time with somebody and not hurt the person. You guys are going to disagree. You guys are going to be so, but you must make sure that the communication must stay open. That's one thing we try to do. No matter how much I disagree with her or she disagrees with me, no matter how much I'm unhappy with her or she's unhappy with me, we make sure that we communicate, because once your communication lines are short, that marriage is going to go down the drain very fast, that both of you will be shocked. Despite the fact that you've been together for many years, it won't matter, I'm telling you. Because in that time where you are not talking, your mind will go to very strange places. It's very, 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 very strange how it can happen. And that's why whenever people want to take over a territory, the first thing they do, they cut off the communication line. Like if you watch a movie, for example, someone wants to invade somebody's house. The first thing, they go outside and disconnect the telephone, because they don't want you to seek for help. They don't want you to talk to the next person in the next room. They just shut communication. Communication line is the lifeblood of any relationship.
I like that you talked about getting a third party in, because you have to communicate.
You have to communicate.
But sometimes what we've come to know is some people who have been married for a long time are sometimes averse to bringing in a third party. They just feel we should know better by now. Okay, but don't see it like that. If the fact is that this is not working for us, so let's seek solution. Doesn't matter who, as long as this issue is solved, resolved, then hey, we're happy.
How often do we talk? Because it's also important for people to know that this communication we're talking about is not just hey, hi, those shallow type of communication. All right? How often do we talk, and what kind of thing do we talk about?
Everything. We talk, oh gosh. Like, you mean how often do we talk on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, yes. Let's give it context.
We talk very, very much.
Yes.
Very much.
In the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, we are constantly talking. Constantly talking. The thing why it's easier is because we built it into a habit. It's not a habit where you just think, when someone is your best friend, you just talk to the person. You enjoy talking with the person. Where the first good news you hear, the first person, I remember when I passed my Viva, my PhD, the moment I turned on my phone, the first person I wanted to talk to was my wife. I
was waiting.
You were actually waiting the other end. Babe, what's happening? So you have that person in your life where the first person you want to give any bad news or any good news, bad news so that you can figure it out together, good news so that you can celebrate with you, is my partner, is my wife. And that's one very, very important thing. Make out that time to talk about opinion, talk about your fears, talk about your concerns, talk about what's are your dreams, talk about my wife knows my dreams, my aspiration, my career goals, talk about those things that only her knows really, actually. Yeah. Talk about my prayer point. She knows my prayer point. She knows what I'm trusting God for. So communication we're talking is not the surface thing. It's deep stuff. Yeah.
And if it's not been a practice yet, just keep working at it.
You have to.
Get there.
You have to be
You'll get there to the point where you can share openly. Okay, let's talk about the next point. What do you have in mind?
The next point I'm thinking is transparency. Now, it flows from communication, but sometimes it can be different. So transparency is when you go into a relationship with someone without hiding something. Like someone said that naked and not being ashamed.
Yes.
Where you are actually bare. Your spouse sees you the way you are, worse and all. I'm not hiding something. I'm not hiding a bank account. I'm not hiding my past. She knows. He knows. You've been transparent about your past. You've been transparent about your present. You've been transparent about your future. Transparency is so important because people cannot be intimate with somebody that is not transparent. Why? Because you don't enable them to build trust. So we are very transparent.
Yes.
I say to my wife what I really think. Sometimes she may not agree with some of my ideas, but I say to her what I can think out loud in my wife's presence.
That's a healthy place.
Very healthy.
Yes.
I can think out loud. I don't feel like she's going to judge me. She may disagree with me. And one policy we have in this marriage is tell me why. Just argue your points. Yeah. It's not, this is no the fluffy emotional stuff. Just tell me why you disagree with this. Just tell me why, and she will have to come up with a point. If it's the other way, I will have to give my reasons. All right. So transparency is so important, where your spouse will know when you're hiding something. Oh my word. Nobody knows you better than your spouse.
You built that connection.
Oh, nobody knows you. She knows the move when you look this way, when you do something, when you are not happy, when you are concerned, when you are scared, when you are agitated, when you are irritable. He knows. She knows. When you are hiding something, she knows. All right.
I think this
because you are a spirit being.
Yes, I think this comes with a lot of accountability.
Yes.
Because when you're setting these rules, don't forget that you'll be called to question. Right? So you have to get to that point where you can truly be accountable. Your spouse doesn't have to chase you for it. So it's you saying, I think I spent a bit more than we agreed. Even though you know your spouse may not find out. But that's transparency.
Yes. Good point. Good point. You're not waiting for the spouse to snoop it out.
Yes.
You are the one coming forward for this. Now, you may experience some form of, why did you do this? We'll discuss this. But you register something in his head, in her head, to say, this person can be trusted.
Yes.
I'm telling you. It's in the little things that go far for people to now begin to connect. Because we're talking about connecting. How do you maintain your intimacy over a long-term marriage?
Yes.
Yeah, because when you've been together with someone if you're not careful, you begin to take the person for granted. You just be like, whatever. No. Transparency is so important. So important. Yeah.
Okay, let me share another point which helps us. I think we prioritize quality time.
Yes.
Prioritize quality time. And some people may say, but our schedules are different. Because yes, we see that, especially for people in the Western world, or people who have some kind of careers, like doctors or nurses, you have to work at night, probably your spouse works in the daytime. You have to find that time. You have to find that time. And what we've realized too is that in fact, planning for the time together even pulls you together, right? Maybe when you're planning a weekend getaway, for instance, whilst you're making those plans, talking about it, it's something. There's a bond building because this is also a planning for us. Our time together, planning for holidays. But then I think we need to get to the point where we, on a daily basis, create time on a daily basis to touch base. Now, even if it's that because you work at night and your spouse works in the daytime, try to look for a way around it. Maybe through the phone.
Yeah. There was a time we're not living in the same space. Yeah, we made sure that we stayed in touch. All right. It's so important for you to stay in touch. Many things can be lost in communication, particularly 2D communication like text messages or stuff. But there is something about seeing the person.
Yes.
As they are saying whatever they are saying, you are seeing, okay,
yes.
The word may be coming out wrong, but the facial body language is coming out sincere. You can see. But
actually,
yeah, but some of these things are lost in in the process of transmitting the message. So it's very important for you to,
so you say video calls at least.
Video calls. If you are not living in the same city, video calls are so important. And create a routine. So like, remember when we were living apart at a specific time, 12, when you were living in a different time zone.
Yes.
Specific time, 12 my time, maybe 4 a.m. our time, we know we have to touch base. Then we'll touch base again later in the evening.
Yeah.
It was that regimented. Wherever I am at 12, before 12, I'm running to a place where I can have private time to talk with her.
Yes. That's why we're calling it prioritizing it.
Yes.
Treat your marriage like it matters. So my marriage is that important. I must give it that time. Yes.
Another thing we do is that we look for hobbies, things that we enjoy together. Like we like reading together. We're reading a book on parenting at the moment. Yes. We like seeing movies together. So we have, after you've shut down for work, because we really work hard in this family.
Which is another way you spend time together, a cozy night.
Yes, cozy night to just, snuggle and have this warm, fluffy stuff we just cover and sit down in front of the TV and just unwind and choose a movie like, that is entertaining, challenging or whatever it is. It's our preference at the time. So, but another thing that we do is like I mentioned, hobbies, but we also do projects together like this, making videos together. Yes. It's one of our projects. Yes. We like traveling, but we're making plans to begin to travel more this year. Doing things together, maybe projects based here, or project that we do, family-based project. We write books together. We design coaching courses together. We mentor people together. We have a lot of young people that we mentor. We have married couples we mentor. We have single people we disciple that belong to a WhatsApp group, So there are projects that we do together that is fun for her and for me. So I'm not just dragging her into it, or she's not just dragging me into it.
I like that.
Yes.
Your spouse has to enjoy it as well.
Your spouse has to enjoy it. Otherwise, it's for you. They're doing it for you, which is fine. But it's best if it's something both of you enjoy. So that both of you can bring that vibe, that energy to it.
What if someone watching us is thinking, well, what do we really enjoy together?
Yeah, that's a good question for you to answer because you know your spouse.
Yes. Or ask your spouse.
Ask your spouse.
What can we do together?
Yes. So it's part of the discovery. Your spouse is like an onion. There are different layers to them. All right. Sometimes they don't even know what they enjoy. So you have to sit back and watch them and really observe them. And then I say, okay, they like this thing. I like something similar. All right. So let's find a way to bring this together. Like I remember a couple we were coaching one time. And the guy was like, I run this business. I want my spouse to be involved in this. And the spouse is complaining that he doesn't have time for me because he's so busy. You say, your solution is in front of you.
Yes.
He likes this thing is running. Why not you bring your creativity and your marketing genius to it? And both of them are spending time together. She's spending time with him because that's what she wants. He wants her to bring his act of service, which is help me in this matter, and that's how we were able to click it for them. And
so the gap I saw there is she wanted to spend time her own way, not thinking about how can we
spend time together. That's it. So you need to look for a project. One other benefit of having a project is that if it's a project like that you guys are both committed to, even when you're not happy with each other, you have to talk about the project.
You'll bring it together.
You now see that in one way it feeds into it. It helps your conflict management.
Yes.
Because once people are in conflict, they want to be distant. But because you have a project, something you have to do, you have to talk. And before you know what's happening, you are resolving the conflict and the whole thing is going on. So you see how you can walk around your marriage such that everything you are doing by default strengthens your union.
I like that you mentioned conflict because I think I'll just go on from there.
Yes.
Which is that we resolve disagreement as soon as possible.
Yes.
As soon as possible.
That's another thing that helps us.
Even though the scripture says, do not let the sun go down on your anger.
Yes.
So you're angry with your spouse, by the time it's approaching midnight, you guys need to talk. Okay. But then I think it's more, it calls for a lot of maturity when you get to that point where you realize I should be processing things right. Okay. It's not nice. There's a point it gets to in your relationship where you know, okay, my spouse is angry. If I say what I want to say the way I want to say it, it would rock the atmosphere more. So you just let it lie and then talk about it at a better time. This is you intentionally wanting to work on the state of things in the relationship. It's really critical. It's not nice that you keep going against each other forcefully. You know, minimize the conflict. There's no need for it. But then when disagreements come up, as soon as possible. Sometimes it's a call to maturity because you need to get to that. But some people say, I want to simmer the anger. I've not felt it.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Let's not feel it like that so much. Just let it go.
Yes. Now, someone will ask us that. But what about if you don't want to solve like you mentioned, I want to enjoy, I want to simmer the anger. What about if I don't want to solve that problem? Why is it important to work towards reconciliation as soon as possible? Why is it important?
You're losing time. One, depending on what is at stake.
Yes.
Okay, if there's an urgent thing requiring your attention, your inputs, because we're not talking to each other, we would have lost time on that thing. Later on, you start having regret. Oh, I should have called him. I should have done this. You know, or that's one practical example. Another
reason why, because in fact, to add to your point, there are couples who, because because they were angry with their spouses were calling them for something that is an emergency, and they did not pick the call, only to realize much later that there was an emergency. So you don't want to find yourself in that situation.
Yes.
Another reason is that sometimes when you don't settle issues long, you forget the details.
Yes.
But the emotions, it goes bigger. The emotions are still there. And so you become, your understanding and recollection of the event become distorted. You now begin to add one thing. You know, the reason why this happened is because I can see they don't respect any man in their family. You begin to bring things that are not connected. By the time you've brooded upon that, even you will be wondering later on when you resolve, you wonder, how did I get that far? So don't leave room for it. Because your brain will begin to fill in the gaps. Because you're not hearing your spouses, you're not even hearing their own point of view, their own perspective to the issue. Your brain will begin to fill in the gap, and sometimes it may go to dark places. And that's how people begin to now grow apart, one step at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. Another way that we're training is that we research on marriage. It's one of the subjects, like, you know, we a lot of books.
We research on many things.
Many things.
Yes, because that's also something that brings us together. We research on many things, but we research on marriage as well.
We do.
Oh, yes.
We do. We research on many things. We needed to emphasize that. We share information, we research on, for example, creating content, we research on life, we research on making progress, we research on parenting. But marriage, because we're in this ministry, we research on it as well. Right? Not just to have something to say, to also improve our own marriage as well. Because, you know, someone said the biggest room in life is the room for self-development, the room for growth. You have to be in that stage where you need to stay fresh. Your marriage will be put on a pedestal because you are talking about marriage. So you have to also ensure that in your private mode, there's something my wife used to say, that when we met newly, said our goal is that our marriage will be stronger inside than what it is outside. So we're not about trying to, the core of our marriage will be stronger than what people see. So it's not what people see on social media, oh, I like this cute couple, and then they come to your home, you're like, oh, these guys are mean to each other. No, they want to be like, man, what we are seeing inside is even more potent, more powerful, more amiable than what we see on social media. And that's always been our target, our goal, you know. So that is one thing that also helps us. We research on marriage together. In process of researching, you learn something. You'll be like, I get why. Now you get perspective. You know, that end up helping. Like, you know, I think it was Dr. Akunna that say, we do what we remember. So how can you remember something if you've not read it? So reading things have a way of shaping your perspective, making you a better version of yourself, which impact on your relationships.
I think that was one thing I appreciated a lot when we started talking early on. And you said to me, oh, I'm hungry for knowledge.
When I was sweeping,
I love that.
Sweeping you off your feet.
Oh, no. Oh, you hadn't started at that point.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
She tried to be modest. She fell head over heels.
Yes, I did fall.
I
will say that.
Thank you very much.
At some point, I fell flat.
At some point, you're not falling.
No. I mean, at the start.
Just putting your legs.
Anyway, wow. We've shared some points. Feel free if you have other points. But these are points that work for us. They do work for us. And then I think just the last one I thought that just came to mind now is practice gratitude. What are you grateful for in your spouse? Yesterday we took a class and we were speaking to the people and we said, say something you have never said to your spouse before. And it was so amazing. You could see the smiles on faces. People were so I'm sure a lot of people left that night to continue whatever. But that's something. What are you saying to your spouse? Be very appreciative of who you have. Let's not take each other for granted. Or this beautiful thing God has given to us. It's precious. Let's treat it as such.
That's a good way to end the video. Yes. Fantastic. Be grateful for your spouse. Look for something daily to be grateful for.
Yes. So if you're yet to subscribe to our channel, what would we do to make you subscribe? Please hit the subscribe button and smash that and the bell next to it. And we will see you on the next one. Feel free to share this video with as many people as you know will need it. All right. See you on the next one.
Bye.